Hello, West Pacific Market Analytics here with the West Pacific Week, early here on Sunday morning. I'm not going to get into too much rambling here. Let's just get straight into it. There's so much we could have a coffee chat about. Maybe we'll try to do that during the week. I haven't forgotten about you. There just hasn't been too much to add to the conversation until right now. So let's get into that. I want to say thank you to those that have joined our Discord family. And I'm going to keep that offer active here in the near term. So let's not waste any time. Let's not get into any much. I just want to get into the facts, and that's really all that's important here. Not get into too much chatter and that sort of thing, because I really don't like that. So let's just go here quickly to the disclaimer. These charts and updates for educational and entertainment purposes only, so read that. Well, I have an early morning coffee here on Sunday. I got to head out. Got a busy day. I'll be sipping that a little bit. Hope this video finds you and your family well, your health doing great. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And again, here's that offer if you're interested. A $2.99 for 3 months to try us out, and then we'll apply it to the full year membership. Full year membership's not expensive. I'm going to tell you that right now. The price point is very, very affordable. And of course, if you're interested in that $2.99, I will send you information, and I'll send you the full price sheet for the full year as well. While I keep that price, at some point I'm probably going to raise that price. Right now I don't want to do that, because my whole objective is to keep it affordable, because I want it accessible, and I've got to have a price point there, because I want to, I want people that are going to come into our Discord family to understand there's a level of trust there. And everyone that joins, I've developed some really great long-term friendships over the time I've had this Discord site. Really, we've developed it out to the point where it's really rocking now, and it's important that there's a level of trust among the people that join. I want you to feel comfortable there, and there's a level of honesty where information doesn't leave that place. I mean, we're there with each other to help each other win. And that is all it's about. And I want it to be somewhere where people can win. There goes my alarm. Got up a little early. Let's shut that off. All right, let's get into a rambling again. So let's go straight into it here. If you want to join, get a hold of me right there, destinytrading@gmail.com. Let's go here. I mean, there's some interesting stuff going off here. I posted some of these. Let's start here with some of these key signals that I put up. And again, I talked to you the other day. Let's just go back to that the global finance model, which hit its low here in 2007, has now reached its top. So it looks very much like global finance is topped out, and global tech is really interesting. Same setup, but notice the global tech didn't hit the low in 2009. It hit the low back here in 2002. And now it's topped out as well. So that is just really curious how we got the pink line hit on tech at the low here in this big 2000 corrective move into 2002. And then we saw that similar setup in finance. And again, we've come all the way up. So global tech and global finance have topped out. And we've got a signal that's gone off right here. You see the signal's gone off here in October. Typically on the other side of that signal, we get a crash move. So you can see where this signal went off here. We had the initial move down. It's kind of an ABC move down, which I think that probably is, because I think this final push is a wave 5. So you can see we got an A, B, and a big C move down here. This sets up different, because this is a major wave 5 top if you want to put an Elliott wave count into it. So we're going to see an initial move. Now out this, we should see all ABCs and everything. I don't think we're going to see too many 5 wave counts, but only what matters is we got this signal. And you can see here when we had this signal down move, we had this huge signal here in 24, and we still had a down move. But again, it depends on where the signal becomes in the model. You notice here in 2022, that's when we had our big sell-off. So you got to take this signal very seriously. And here's that signal in the bigger picture model. And I find it interesting that we had this signal go off. It took about a year here before we had the 87 crash, because this is a quarterly model, but that doesn't mean we don't have to have the crash right away. You can see that was when we had that huge 87. It's interesting how we got that signal for 87, and of course we had it in 2000, and right off that signal we started selling off, and now we've got that signal at this top. I mean, you've got to take this seriously here. There's no question, I mean, what is that saying, right? And I don't want to use the T word too much because I get beaten up for that, don't I? But it doesn't matter, because what matters is we got it all right now, and we are going to rock and roll. Now we're going to have to see some things go off. Let's take this signal, for instance, here. You notice this still hasn't rolled over up here, right? You see off of this top we just had here, back here into that low into April. We topped out in December. And then we had that big corrective move. Again, that ABC move here into this final thrust. So we're going to need to see that roll over. It hasn't rolled over yet. And then once it rolls over, we want to see how it sets up. So this is a really good model. I like this a lot because there's a lot we can talk about and how these go. And I don't want to get into it here. I just want to kind of flash through some of these things to show you. Now this is really interesting. I was looking at this. You can see we've got what I like to call this parabolic blow off here. And this signal has now rolled over. And what's interesting is you notice we've had this velocity drain ongoing since all the way back here at the start of 2022. Right there, you see it? And the velocity's been draining. But you'll notice every time that this signal moves down, it doesn't matter where price is. This moves down, we get corrective moves. So if we go back to the big 2000 corrective move here, you see here in the box how that signal was moving down. And again here in 2007, you can see how that signal was moving down. So every time, here we had a little signal down, and notice we had this small sell-off. Here we had the signal down for that sell-off we had in 2018-19. And here we had the signal down for the 2020 corrective move. Now remember, everything here is corrective, because my feeling is this top is the top of the entire rally out of the 1932 lows. So this becomes something extremely different. And I'm not here to do a video about that. I'm just here to talk about the current technical picture this week. But understand what this high represents. This high could represent a whole paradigm shift in the economy globally. And it's not just about America. They're just, we're what? I mean, they added 12 trillion debt in the last month again, globally. Japan's broke. We're going to look at a Japan model. I want to just bring that up briefly. But every time you can see, here's that 2020 corrective move, we sold off. And now we've had this parabolic rise. And we need to price back here below the dot curve. So this could be a huge move down. You see, we only got that little blip here, and that even showed the December to April little ABC, right? Well, that's pretty aggressive looking right there. We're going to watch that. We're definitely going to watch that. And then here we're seeing that signal again here. So notice how we had this on this particular model. It's interesting because we're looking at the what I call the internet bubble here, and now the AI bubble. So the internet bubble, there the signal went off, and there was our top right there in 1999, and right off that signal we sold off. And now here we've got a triple signal. The signal started firing in 2023. So for this entire internet bubble rally, this signal's just been firing. We got a triple signal. You know me in threes, that's probably it. And so it looks ready. I mean, look, we've only had that signal here and then in the big move down. And I'm comparing it to, this was the big, telecom internet bubble, and this is the AI and everything bubble. Yeah, it's really interesting. But we're looking at a lot of things here. Like you see this focus here. This has to do with the options in the rates, and you can see that we've got this focus signal here. And you notice here the 2022 corrective move. See the market selling off here. This was rising. So we've only had this signal rising back here into the 2020 move and into the 2022 move, and the rest of the whole time it's been going down. Now, of course, the actual indicator rose when we had these sell-offs. So here's that ABC corrective move. It rose. Here's this little tiny move we had right here. You can see it rose, right? But what I'm looking at now, and this is focused up at a needle point here. And so we're watching a lot of things there, okay? I mean, there's just a lot of signals we're watching over here. And I'm going to get into a few others. These are just, let's look at this one here. I was talking to my members about this. I really like this, and I worked on this a long time. And to get to this stage, you can imagine where it all started. But you can see here back in 2020 how this signal all stayed open above here. Now notice how it looks. So you can see it doesn't have much opening going on it. And then you notice when we had this key selling in 2022, You can see how it just stayed open. You see how it stayed open there? It closed a little bit. You see how it stayed open here? Let's zoom in on that. You see it right here? Stayed open, stayed open, stayed open. And we had just these signals firing off. So we had rallies here when it closed back up, right? But then what happened is once the signal stopped firing, we then got the trend coming above and the signal opening up again. And that's where the market rallied. And then we had this small corrective move here late 2023. And then on that 4100 low, you can see how the signal loaded back up top. The strong velocity coming up out of that move. And you can see how we had the strong velocity coming out of the 2020 move. As you see it, strong velocity, strong velocity. What's important is where we're at now. You notice in the ABC corrective move here, the velocity has continued to drain. Now, we did get the trend rally back, which allowed the signal to go back up top. But this looks like a disconnect now, doesn't it? We're still getting the velocity drain. And as soon as this trend rolls over, we're heading down. This is really, really, really dangerous looking. Don't like this at all. I mean, we've never had it to where the price is kind of floating out. We did have it back here, but when the price was floating out, the velocity was rising. And we're getting the velocity rolling back over. So there's some things there we want to be very careful of. Let's go into these top internals. This is more important. We're also going to be watching here because at the end of the month we want to be careful here because we've got Meta earnings on October 29th. We got Amazon earnings on October 30th, Apple October 30th, and Google on November 4th. Netflix is first on October 21st, but I'm not too concerned about that. It's the Meta, the Amazon, the Apple, and Google, of course, which are holding this whole market up. So it's going to be interesting. Right here at month end, they're all coming out with their earnings. So we want to keep that kind of in the back of our mind to see where this sell-off that we're going to have here in October sets up going into the end of the month. Now you can see here in this particular model, you notice how the curve topped out here. Now back here, you see how we're dropping into this V channel I talk about all the time. Now the V channel is momentum channel, okay? And you can see that back here, this all had to rise. I mean, this is rising, then all of this has to rise. And it did. You notice it all rised. It rose up here back into the V channel eventually where it had to price. But you notice it's all rolled over now. So we're going from the late 90s and way back in time here into a rising momentum channel into a collapsing momentum channel. Or as I call it, the velocity of momentum. That's why I call it the V channel because that stands for a measurement of the velocity of the momentum of the trend, which is what we do here. So you can't get this indicator. You notice how the indicator came into it right here in late 2019. And so in a sense, even that 2020 low, it had to rally because you notice the dot curve was up here and now we're pricing very nicely this whole time until right here, even at our low, which for SPX is 4100, I've got it here timed into the NASDAQ. Because that I want to watch. This is a NASDAQ-based model. So we, even here we could rally because this signal still had room here in the V channel. Now we've broken out here. This is not good because this signal now has to drop back down here into the V channel next year. And you can see it's starting to roll over. You see it bending over there? So this is all going to drop. Prices and this signal are hanging out here. This is, again, another indicative signal that we're at something dangerous setting up here shortly. And we can see this in a lot of the modeling. Let me show you this one here. You can see here how into this rally out of 4100, here it is right here. You notice how we broke out of the V channel. This should have stayed up here and got up into the V channel. And notice how this V channel is just aggressively rising up as we go out to the end of the decade here. 2030, 2031 here. Now, that's not good because you'll notice that when we have our bigger corrective moves here, that this rises. So you notice here in 2000, we had the signal rising, we had the velocity rising, and again here, velocity rising, signal rising. You see that? And we can see that throughout the model. So we're looking here, you can see the trend's already turned around, but this red line needs to price all the way up here. It needs to come back up, and this is going to rise. That means the market's going to go down. And this thing is down here, miles below now, a rising momentum channel. I mean, there's some really interesting stuff here, and it's 100% right. I don't know what's coming, but boy, I mean, it's at a really, really interesting point in time. And then you can see here in this particular model, you notice here's our corrective ABC corrective move, and then into this rise, and this signal read it very, very well. And you'll notice here how all of this is kind of rising up with it. You notice though that we're priced okay down here, V channel's down here, and you notice how the trend's rising. But again, this doesn't look right up here because we can see velocity coming out. You notice into this rally the trend rose, so we're going to be watching a lot of these. Now this is measuring different internals. I don't get into exactly what the internals are because okay, we can say this is summation, or this is breadth, or this is this is advanced decline, or this is 200-day moving average, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I only want to be able to pick out what's reading the market best, and then we're going to keep an eye on those signals. Same idea here. You can see it rising and this rally back up. Okay, and again, it was all priced right until we broke out here around August of September of 24. So actually at the 4100 low, you could see that this had to rise up into the V channel, and it did. So that was part of our rally. So it was all a matter of just understanding it, okay? So again, we're going to have to see this roll over. Now, once this rolls over, you notice how beautifully from 6100 down to 4800, it just came right down the velocity, right? You see that? Look at that big spike in trend. But the indicator got down, the market got oversold to it, and then it turned. So we're going to watch. You notice now trend is rolling over, velocity is topping out, and once this trend and velocity roll down into the end of the year, we should see this indicator come down, and then we're going to watch it. And we're going to do as it tells us, and we're going to watch it as it runs. Now this is really interesting because you can see here that the velocity has been draining all of 2024 and 25. And what we're measuring here is pretty much all the other stocks in the market that aren't part of this, top 5 or top 10 that are keeping the market supported. This is not pretty. So it's just a few little stocks that are keeping this market suspended up here. You can see it, just the velocity is coming out. And you notice back here in 2022, this red indicator added in. You see how it timed to the low here. You see the October low at 4100, how it timed. You can see this red low, how it timed to our April low. So I've added that in. It's not part of what we're modeling here, but at the same time, it's read the market really good. That is another. That's actually a NASDAQ-based indicator within reading everything that's outside of the NASDAQ. So again, we're just looking for a lot of these turns. Now let's not waste a lot of time here. Let's get into what I was talking to my members about. I want to keep this video. We're almost getting to 20 minutes, so let's finish this off because I can jabber a bit and there's so much to talk about. Let's look at this internal right here. You can see the V channel is now all the way down here. Now notice going all the way back here into 2021 when the V channel loaded up. So here's the price, okay? So you notice this whole time the V channel all the way up into this sell-off here. Here's the sell-off, right, into that April low. Even at that, the V channel was here. Do you see it? And the whole time this V channel was above the price. And you notice down here at the 2022 low, if I'd had this model and we were talking about it back then and I understood the rules and how all this works, which I do now, and it's taken a lot of back testing to figure that all out, that we can see that this was an extreme buy because of the V channel being above. Well, notice now our V channel has broken down. Price is up here. This is now a sell. You do not want to own it when it's above the V channel. So you notice just here when we sold off to this initial sell-off, we were only just, this red indicator was only just dropping into the channel. And now the channels continue to break lower. I mean, this is a sell. You do not want to be long with this indicator up here, with price up here, and now the V channel down here. That's how it's set up if you go back to 2020. This is getting ready to sell off. Now, I don't think it's going to, we can see that in a lot here. I'm showing this to my members. You can see it here too. You notice V channel loaded above, and now we've popped out over here. You see how we popped out over here above the V channel? This is going to collapse. So you definitely want to be setting up. You can see it here too. coming down, indicator coming down. Price can't be up here. We're getting ready for that corrective move, okay? Now, let's just go, where did I pop that in here? Because I want to talk about that. Of course, it's 10 stocks. We're looking at that too, you notice? So we're watching the 10 stocks here. We can see the velocity starting to roll over. We're going to want to see this break down again because obviously the 10 stocks is going to control the market. So I've got a thing here I call the 10 stocks is where we're watching, you know, Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Google, Amazon, and all that. And, you know, we look at them. You can go back here, and I've got models you can go in. These are pretty current. These were put up about a month ago, but nothing much has changed on them. And I will be updating them shortly. But you can go in there and you can take a look at all these stocks. And we're going to be watching. Now, I think looking at how it's going to run out into 2026, I put this in. And what I've done is I've kind of drawn here how this sell-off back in 22 set up. So in other words, the gate here and the velocity and everything, I kind of put in here. So I think we're going to get this sell-off down, and then the gate's going to play in. Now, we're going to have to see how deep. The V channel's down here. So, you know, we're probably going to get the sell-off back down to test that 9,800 again. This will be an A move, so we're going to see where it wants to go. And it might just come down to about there. Now, it might go there, or it might decide to go real deep, and then it's going to rally back up. So down and then up. It might be shallow and up, or it might be deep and up. But it's going to be a rally up. So once it comes down, then we're going to have a rally back up, and then expect it to work lower, and then a rally back up and to work lower. But you can see that, I mean, really, we're not looking at much more than maybe about 79.56 as the ultimate low. It might want to try to pressure lower on that, but I really don't see it because you can't get too far. We're going to need to see this dark blue line that I call the gate, and then we're going to have to see the gate close like it closed here. You see this? And then it can drop below it. You see how the gate was closed this whole time here? So we're looking at the top 10 here. This is the ones that are controlling the market. So we're going to want to watch how this sets up. But I mean, you know, when everybody's talking about a crash move, I only see it as corrective right now. You know, that could be a head, right? Here's your shoulder over here. And now over here, we're going to work on a right shoulder. And again, the neckline would bring us then down somewhere here, right? So, I mean, it's not going to be a huge. It's going to be, like I said, maybe 79.56 and then back up to 12,000 and then back down. It's going to be volatile within this box, just like it was volatile here. And we're going to trade these swings. So don't expect some giant, it's just the end of the sky is falling in 2026. That's not going to be the case. We're not going to be taking out these lows down here. I don't see any time into these lows coming down until in 2000. I just can't see it. I just can't see it collapsing that far. I mean, we could get a huge move down. If it does, that's going to set up a ripper of a buy opportunity. So we'll have to see how it sets up. But truthfully, I don't see it. We've got to develop a right shoulder here, finish off this big topping pattern. And then on the other side of 2026, we'll talk about attaining these further lows down below. But just, you know, right now, it's going to be corrective. It's going to be tradable. It's going to be down. It's going to be up. It's going to be all over the place. Now, let me just finish off with one thing I was talking about because I think this is really important. Let's go into the yields and the bonds here. And I wanted to show you the semiconductors, but I don't have time. Maybe I'll try to put that into the model. This huge rally back up here in Soxal. And we'll look at that maybe in a future video because I think that's really interesting how well the model read it. And we're going to be saying, hey, let's stay on top of this and understand it now. And there's going to be some great opportunity. But basically, you want to be getting short the semiconductors again. And on that move in semis, you want to take it off the table. But let's look at Japan. Now, I see a future Japanese fiscal crisis because this is the 10-year note in Japan, and you can see how it's rising. If I carry out the gate here, you see I carried it out in time. Now, this thing just doesn't turn all of a sudden, right? It's rising up here going on into 2026, and here's 2027, right? And so rates could come down again, or they could continue just to chop sideways. You know, Japan, 10-year rates above 1%, which was this corrective move we had here in early 25. You know, at above 1%, 100% of Japanese tax revenues go to paying their interest on their debt. So Japan has no money to run their economy. And that's why we're seeing so much homelessness now over in Tokyo and graffiti everywhere. The Japanese society is starting to break down. And if you don't believe me, I love to follow that story. Take a look and watch some videos of what's going on over in Tokyo right now. It's got an aging population, the youth's not having kids, and Japan is looking scary ahead. And Japan and the carry trade are a big story about what's going to control this corrective move. So I see a Japanese fiscal crisis. And it's so fascinating because we've now got the Nikkei back up here at record highs. And that's dangerous because you can see we've got this pattern right here that I call swan pattern. And we've got a swan pattern in our markets as well that I showed my members. And you can see this swan pattern, right? You see it here? This is now a neck into this focus signal. And so you notice back here in early 1970, this whole move up, Japan has been a big part of the liquidity of the entire globe. And you notice that the V channel is all the way back down here. So once this signal rolls over, this is something else I want to watch, because once the Nikkei rolls over, that is going to be an interesting event. And that can take us all the way back down here to this low here at the gate. So I'm watching this as well. Now, Japan has not rolled over yet. So we're going to see how that goes. So we could keep going here. There's so much to talk about. But I just wanted to give you kind of my thoughts here. You definitely want to be positioning short now. You want to be getting out of your bets. We'll see how corrective this gets. You see how fast. I mean, we could see a panic move out of this top. There's still some of those signals that need to go off. But, you know, it's not long now till those signals are going to fire and we're going to head lower. So just be aware of it. Be ready. Be defensive. Get yourself, start to take on some hedges and prepare. Talk to you soon. Have a great Sunday. Glenn out.